Hello, hello. Welcome.
Hello.
What's up? What's up?
Good to see you, Patrick. I'm super stoked to be here talking to Chainlink and all the amazing Chainlink crew about storage and all the cool things you can do at Hacks to win prizes and also, start your projects outright and, become a founder in this space even at some point. So really cool to be talking to you.
Likewise, yeah, really excited to be here. And I see some people in the chat coming in. Laurent, what's going on? Matt, how are you? Double Mats.
Double Bats. Motion,
Motion. Hello,
Lauren,
hello.
Darby.
See a couple of GM.
I want to know, are these all block-end developers, Patrick?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is some of the regulars here. How's everybody doing? Good GM.
Got some of the crew. Well, happy May the 4th to you as well. Auspicious day to be doing a joint presentation with you, Patrick.
Absolutely. Happy May the 4th. So to everyone here, this is Ali from Filecoin. Oh, everyone, she's even got her own slide up to introduce herself. We're super excited to be doing some Filecoin and Chainlink bounties. As you all know, who've been going to these workshops, we've been doing a lot of IPFS. We've been talking about Filecoin as well. And so Ali's here to give us even more information and talk about kind of the cool stuff you can do with these two technologies together.
Yeah, 100%. I think we're going to be riffing about what we could do with oracles and storage potentially. But yes, hello everyone. I'm developer Ali. Super psyched to be here. I'm also Alice in Wonderland in the Discord channel. If you have any questions on IPFS and Filecoin, hit up the Discord and I'll be happy to chat with you about that as well. Think we've lost Patrick for a second. Hopefully he'll be back though. But like I said, stoked to be with you. Happy May the 4th. I'm a Filecoin developer advocate, so I love helping people with all their storage needs and trying to onboard you the easy ways as well, because I know kind of the Filecoin ecosystem and IPFS ecosystem can kind of be a massive beast, and that's just the nature of kind of, we're talking about data, which is taking over the world, right? So I just want to bring up one of the main missions of Filecoin and IPFS, and it's really neatly kind of encapsulated in this quote. So I was at Paris Peer-to-Peer over the weekend, and Juan Benet turned up and was giving one of his amazing talks again. And I know Sergi and Juan are kind of old friends as well and have a lot of the same values, which is really cool, and why I'm glad to be here talking to Chainlink as well. But this was the quote that really stood out for me. He said, "The properties of the internet and its technologies really define our human rights." And that's kind of true. Like, if we don't have a way to, have our own data, be our own data and not be the product like we are a lot of the time in Web 2 with Facebook, with the Googles of the world, like all these centralized data systems, it kind of means that, we're the product rather than we own our data and then we own the rights behind that data. So what we're trying to do here at Protocol Labs, IPFS and Filecoin, is to create the kind of underpinning infrastructure for the open web to give us back our rights. So you can check out that talk. I'll post a link to it later. But yeah, that was something that kind of really defines what we're doing here and really stood out to me. So hopefully you like that too. And we do have a massive ecosystem, like I said. So there's heaps of people using IPFS and Filecoin. We even just onboarded Flickr. They're going to start hosting a lot of their photo archive onto IPFS and Filecoin. We've given them a grant to be able to do that. Lots of big names here as well. The Internet Archive you would have heard of. We're doing some really social good work with them and storing some of their back files onto Filecoin as well. So all kind of archiving data, and we're working with some of our Ukrainian storage providers as well to make sure that we're onboarding important data and that's not getting lost given the current situation there. I'll just skip these because I think you've got to go, Patrick. So what I want to do with you actually is just talk about some of our bounties. Hey, Tiffy, good to see you. Good morning. And what I want to really do is talk about some of our bounties, and let's see where, Chainlink, the oracles, Chainlink keepers you've got API data coming in from off-chain, which is amazing. We've got, what else have we got? You've got the VRF functionality, which is really cool in terms of NFTs and gaming models. So let's chat about some cool projects that maybe the hackers could do together.
Yeah, absolutely. And we could go back to, because I think we were saying kind of before we jumped on, we were saying we'll probably just riff for some time. So yeah, if you want to go back to that slide, we can just start the riffing there.
Which slide am I going back to?
Oh, I thought you just said we're gonna skip
Yeah,
this.
we're gonna riff, right? This like this is the start of the bounty, so I just skipped a few of my other slides that I had in the intro.
Oh yeah. If you want to go through those, go for it.
No, all good. I can do it later, or I can send out the slides to the participants in the Discord actually, so they can have a look at like all the links that way as well.
Cool. All right, yeah, let's start riffing about joint bounty ideas.
So up for grabs with the Filecoin and IPFS is $75,000 we put up for Chainlink Hackathon because we believe in this space and we know you've got awesome builders in the space. So we'd love to see ideas around Chainlink and Filecoin or IPFS. And I know you're a big fan, Patrick, so we really appreciate you showing people how it's done as well. But we've got a general bounty and then we've got bonus categories. So pretty much anyone that uses IPFS or Filecoin in a meaningful way. So you can't just retrieve a CID, that's kind of cheating. But anyone that uses IPFS or Filecoin in a meaningful way is eligible for our general bounty. And then we've got some bonus categories because we want to kind of get people, popping off with some ideas around different things you can do with storage and with oracles. So these are our bonus categories. Let me just go to the general storage wizard one. Yeah, so I don't know if you've got any cool ideas around a general usage of IPFS and Filecoin. Maybe you want to talk about a couple of projects you've already done, Patrick?
Yeah, so a while back, I wrote a couple of minimalist external adapters. So for those of you who went to the Chainlink external adapters workshop, that's going to be a really good one to learn how to, connect with off-chain decentralized storage here, right? Because your Filecoin blockchain you're going to be able to connect to it with an API, right? Some HTTPS API call connecting to Filecoin. So if you have an external adapter that can store data or get data from IPFS, you now have this insane full, complete backend where you have like your logic all on your smart contract section, but you have all your data in Filecoin on your Filecoin database. And then you can use Chainlink to connect the two. And obviously the rationale for this is you don't want to store, really any data on a layer one, on a smart contract platform, because it's going to cost you an arm in a few houses.
Yeah, imagine storing YouTube on
oh my goodness.
Contract. I wonder how that would be too much. It wouldn't be enough money in the world, is it?
Yeah, I think the last time I checked, like a gigabyte on the Ethereum mainnet is like a few $1 billion or something like that. I forget what the actual number is, but I just remember it being like this astronomically insane number.
Even going broke at that rate. So yes, this is the solution.
But yeah, like exactly. Yeah. So anything that connects the two is fantastic. And yeah, so Ali gives some good examples here of areas where you don't even have to connect with Chainlink either, right? You just use NFT.storage, use Web3.storage, OrbitDB, Textile, anything where you need to store data someplace in relation for your smart contract. This is something that I could do. Something that I've talked about a lot. And for those of you who have listened to my Twitter, I've tweeted about this a lot as well, is DAOs, decentralized or autonomous organizations. When you vote on a DAO right now on Ethereum mainnet or really any layer one, every single person who votes has to spend gas, which is incredibly awful. Oh, do you have an example of that already?
Oh no, I don't have an example, but we do have a DAO tooling.
Oh, okay, great.
You're on
and there's a DAO category, so there you go. But yeah, like you spend a ton of money wasted on gas. Like if you have 100 people if you have 1,000 people in your DAO, and each time you vote costs $100 in gas, well, you're essentially making your entire community spend $100,000 anytime you want to vote on anything, which is ridiculous. So instead, what you can do is you can store those votes in IPFS, in Filecoin, or something like that. And then when all the votes are calculated, use a Chainlink Oracle to relay the winner back to your smart contract. So something like that it's called like gasless voting. Would love to see someone implement something like that. And then using Filecoin and Chainlink is literally like the perfect technologies to achieve something like that.
That would be amazing. I'd love to see more DAO tooling come out. And I know you're a member of Developer DAO as well. I'd love to see some implementations for them come out of this in terms of, where they're storing all their governance proposals, where we're all storing GitHub and a lot of things like that already. But, IPFS and Filecoin are really good use cases for storing those kind of papers. And like Patrick said, that was a super great idea for what we can do with DAO tooling as well. It would be really cool to see. So voting on Filecoin and IPFS with Chainlink oracles would be super cool as well. There's heaps. Yeah. So this is one of the bonus categories as well, which you're eligible for the general category as well as up to one of the bonus categories, but you can enter all of the bonus categories if you think your project applies to all of them. So, but thanks for sharing that super cool idea there, Patrick.
For sure.
I'm somewhere else with that, but it's really early in the morning.
so I know there's a lot of people here too who they've gone to some of the workshops. They've seen the NFTs that we've done. They've seen we did NFTs. They've seen the hosting their websites on IPFS. We didn't actually show it, but you can use Fleek as well to automatically create a deal on Filecoin as well and put that storage there. But I'm kind of curious at this point. So there's a lot of people here who are curious how Filecoin works, what actually Filecoin looks like. And I know we're riffing for a bit right now. We'll probably riff for a bit later. But I was wondering if we could go into the what is the Filecoin?
Nitty-gritty? Yeah, sure. So I think most people have got a pretty good idea of what IPFS is. So IPFS is a peer-to-peer network, and one of its main, characteristics is that instead of, location addressing data like you do on a HTTP network, so you go to a location, it's like, someone telling you there's a book at the library and where to find it, you go to that location and look for it. Instead of doing that, because the book might have been moved, someone might have, taken it out, put it 2 places over on the bookshelf or whatever else it is. Instead of doing that, we content address with IPFS. And so that means, you can give the name of the book and then you can find that copy in multiple places. I mean, it could be in your backpack for all I know. It could be anywhere. So the point is you're always going to get that same book back for when you ask for it, rather than, having to try and find a location, which can totally change. So very massive use case for NFTs, of course, which we want to remain non-fungible. And the best way to use IPFS with NFTs is to go to nft.storage, by the way. So OpenSea uses this in their minting process as well. So it's really like a kind of an industry standard of how to use IPFS and Filecoin. And speaking of Filecoin, why do I need Filecoin if I've already got IPFS? Well, the point is IPFS kind of has a limit. So it's a peer-to-peer network, but each kind of node that runs holding these content addresses, there's no guarantee that that content is kind of going to be retrievable. That node could go down. You could shut your laptop. That could be your node. And then that content's not available for someone else that's near you. So the point of Filecoin is that it's a persistent storage layer designed exactly to complement IPFS and to, I can't think of the word, but anyway, to extend from that problem and to solve that problem, basically. So Filecoin does that in a distributed manner. So your data doesn't have to be held with one central storage entity either, which is kind of a super neat incentive layer for providing value to the storage providers to make sure that your content's always there. And kind of an early iteration of this before Filecoin launched is probably the pinning services that a lot of people might know about with IPFS. So Pinata and things like that were kind of centralized Filecoins a little bit. They were designed to try and persist your IPFS links, or your IPFS, not links, but content. But it's problematic to go down the route of having pinning services, because we're kind of going down the route of centralization again. So the idea of Filecoin is to solve this problem while also providing this distributed storage layer. Hopefully, was there any questions around that? It's kind of like the Airbnb of storage, I guess you could say.
There's a question here from Leo. I had a question the other day, but it could not be answered. Is it possible to know location of usage of that data when it is stored on IPFS?
When it's stored on IPFS, not. So I'm not sure exactly of the intent of this question. So did you want to know, for example, are you trying to be GDPR compliant? Maybe you could. Or
I think the question is like, is it like if I have a file on IPFS, is there a way for me to know how often that file is being accessed? How often people are reading that file?
I'm not an IPFS expert, I'm going to admit. But I don't think you can accurately describe that. So that's another reason, like we kind of, tell people that or have solved this issue with Filecoin, because Filecoin uses a verifiable proof to make sure that that CID or whatever it is you're storing is consistently stored, and it's checked with the storage providers each day. They have to stake to make sure that they're still and prove that they're still storing that file, or they will have their funds slashed, basically. Should it not be possible? Sorry, I'm just reading the question here from Leo. Should it not be possible? Is there a way to do it at the Oracle level, and from where, if possible? So this is really a service layer question. Actually, I'm going to ask you, Leo, if you wouldn't mind posting that in the Discord help channel, because I'll get my IPFS expert to talk directly with you. So I'm from Filecoin. It's a big organization and they know way more about IPFS and can definitely answer that, but I'll get it answered for you. Great question. Yeah, cool. And thanks for asking as well. So I'm not sure. Yeah, so hopefully, apart from that question, we kind of get an idea of how IPFS and Filecoin are complementary, and why Filecoin exists at all. And just to clarify as well, IPFS is a protocol. It's got nothing to do with a blockchain. It's not a blockchain. It's much like HTTPS. So it's a protocol that is designed for distributed content retrieval and passing through. And there's it's a peer-to-peer network as well, so it could be cool to see something like peer-to-peer messaging systems in games, or we have a library called lib peer-to-peer that you could potentially use for that, and a demo by Discordian, his name is, who is our IPFS expert, and I will get him to answer that for you. Yeah, there's definitely lots of ways you could use it like that as well. So just to go through some of the easy tooling as well, but sorry, Patrick, we'll answer that next as well. Actually, we'll go to that now. Is there a way to make sure there are storage solutions comply with regulations? So yes and no, and it's a yes, but it's complicated. So what we are currently trying to do is to we're quite a new project, right? We haven't been around as long as, AWS or these other cloud providers that have had like 20 years to start building in these security layers. And that's something that we definitely want people working on and suggesting. And our GitHubs are all open. We're a totally open organization. All our code's open. So if you do have suggestions for ways we can help do this, but I know we are working on it, we'd love to hear it. But basically what we see is the protocol should never be censored. Like that would really defeat the purpose of having the protocol. So it can't be censored. So what you do is you want to have a look at the service layers above that and how you can make sure that, the storage you're putting onto these storage providers is complying with regulations, or that you're choosing the ones that are useful for you. For example, in terms of GDPR, having to comply with that, we already have a way where you can decide which storage providers you want to store with. So, for example, if you're in Europe and you need to store in Europe, need to store your data in Europe to comply with regulations, you can already kind of say, I only want to store. I think it's a project called Murmurmation is doing that, but you can say you only want to store in European storage providers to comply with that. And there's other kind of projects going on around, making sure this is data that we want to store permanently. So the whole idea for us is to have an open web and to be storing good data, not just, storing someone's meme for the next 200 years. But we will happily do that too. But maybe that is good data, who's to say? But as an example, like the point is we want to store scientific data or climate data or really, really things that everyone should have access to, and that should be stored permanently for future use as well. But all data is good data, So I hope that answered that. Anyway, I've got off on a tangent, as I often do. Yes. And by the way, other tooling for storing data. So I did mention NFT.storage, which is super easy onboarding. Like it's as easy as Web2. I know you've mentioned Fleek as well, but NFT.storage, you just get an API key, chuck it in your code, and you're good to go, basically. So if you're a front-end developer, well, everyone's blockchain developers here, but if you have front-end skills, then you can just get that API key and put it into your front-end code, and it makes it super easy to store on NFT storage. Web3 storage is the same, but not specifically for NFTs. So if you're doing anything with NFTs and want to store the metadata, use nft.storage. For other things, like maybe you're creating that DAO tooling we were talking about, saving governance forms, saving any other type of data, but not massive data, any other type of data, then Web3 storage is the other easier onboarder. If you do want to store massively big data, please message us in the chat, because we have a tool called Estuary that is perfectly designed for that. We just need to get you an API key if you do want to play around with that. Yeah, sorry. And there's this harder level, if you do want to get way down into the functionality of IPFS and Filecoin, as well as lib peer-to-peer. Textile has Powergate, which gives you a lot more functionality than Web3 storage or NFT storage. But NFT storage and Web3 storage are really great first options to onboard to the ecosystem. And kind of maybe the final tool I'll mention is OrbitDB, because a lot of people kind of come to the Web3 space and they're looking for a relational database, which is, one of the pieces. OrbitDB is kind of trying to do some of the work in this field. But I'm going to preface this with, it's not easy to use yet, and it's in active development. Like, doing relational databases in a distributed way is not an easy problem space, but it is happening, which is cool. And I know also Ceramic is kind of doing some things around this, but they're using decentralized identities as well, which is a cool one if you want to explore that for social use cases, basically. And I've many more tools anyway. So yeah, there's a little spiel on all the tooling you can use. Hopefully that was really helpful to you, and I do encourage you to use them, because it will make it much easier for you to go down the route of that. Whoops, my bad. So one of the other ones I think that you might be excited about, Patrick, and one of our other bounties, is the DeFi Magician bounty. Yeah, I thought you might be. So there's probably lots of ways you can use IPFS and or Filecoin with oracles. I've listed a few here, like insurance or stablecoin projects could be really interesting, decentralized AMM, lending protocols. But do you have anything specifically you think would be, because I know this is like a subject matter you love, Patrick?
Yeah, I think everything that you have here is interesting. I think there are some really challenging problems that Filecoin could do an amazing job of solving. So right now, so you have on here like decentralized AMMs, which is great. Something that, and this is kind of more theoretical, and that's why it's really interesting to me, that because it's more theoretical, no one's done it before, so you could be the first one to do it. The reason that AMMs are so prevalent is because it's so hard to do like order book style markets, like order book style exchanges, because there's so much more information you need to keep track of, and it's hard to like match orders up and stuff. If you put all those into a decentralized database and you have all that data, it becomes much easier to manage and much cheaper. So and the reason order book exchanges technically get more efficient prices than AMMs, whereas AMMs are kind of just always gonna have like arbitrage bots that need to like put the price back to where it should be, versus an order book. You're gonna say, hey, I want to sell 20 shares or 20 ERC 20 tokens at this exact price, and technically it can be more efficient. So maybe some more really advanced use cases where you have that order book in your Filecoin, and then you do all the the trading obviously in your smart contract platform. So, and that would be really, really cool. And obviously that would need an Oracle. Everything else you have here is really interesting. And I think, if you look at any modern any modern fintech application, it has not an application, fintech group or industry, they all have a ton of data. Mm-hmm. So you need to put that data somewhere, right? So maybe like something that might be interesting would be like a decentralized hedge fund or decentralized quantitative asset manager, where all your algorithms are like open source and the data for your algorithms is open source. Well, you're going to need all that data somewhere. And something like Filecoin would be fantastic for that. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do here, and a lot of cutting edge things, and a lot of things that we haven't seen yet. Decentralized storage, especially in DeFi, I think now I'm ranting. Is really
this is exactly what I did before. I'll do again, so it's great. Keep going.
is really exciting because decentralized storage is this concept that I feel like has been really underutilized. But if you look at any modern application, they all have databases. So Web3 is going to have one too, especially for DeFi. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's exactly kind of where we're trying to fill the gap as well. We're trying to create this internet level or internet scale storage solution. So not just, this small scale, we're trying to provide an internet scale and more storage solution that works like across planets. That's why it's called interplanetary file storage also. So and that's a true story. I think someone's already talking about putting 5G towers up on the moon. So, who knows? Maybe we'll go store some IPFS nodes up there as well. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, appreciate the rant as well. And one rant that I probably will go on is the social good category, because we are all about funding the commons. Like, one of the main reasons I went into a Web3 or I'm here now is because, I love what we're doing for the community. I love that we're thinking about how our technology can actually, fundamentally be created as a and have an outcome for good, rather than, because technology, we often say, is kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't have one way or the other. It's not positive or negative. It's not necessarily true though. Like I said at the beginning with Juan's quote, how we build these fundamental things underneath is definitely how it gets used and how we operate as communities. But what's really interesting about the crypto space is some of the crypto economic incentives can really provide ways to change behavior as well. So to help us kind of build these funding the commons social good projects, and I know region is becoming like a really big field now as well, or to create things that really do help people on the ground, or fund those kind of things. So provenance in terms of sustainability and green data. We have a project called Filecoin Green, which actually has an API. And yes, to whoever asked if I'll upload these slides, I'll put them up on the Discord as a PDF, so you can go through all the links after this as well. And there's way more, and sorry, they're a bit of a mess. I was throwing them together, trying to put everything in for you guys. But yeah, so combating knowledge disinformation could be a really cool use case as well. I know you have a news API. We could put something in between that and store, valuable data to IPFS and Filecoin as well, or, make sure that it has good information provenance. So tools like that would be really awesome to see. Anything using sustainability data, or trying to track energy usage, which is another big thing for Web3. Like, everyone now has to go green, but there's a fundamental problem with carbon credits in that, like, people are buying them 4 or 5 times and they're not really offsetting their carbon usage. Not only that, having carbon credits kind of incentivizes people to just do the same thing, but then just, kind of hand wave away the problem of trying to be sustainable by, purchasing a carbon credit. And there's things called ESAs, and the Filecoin Green project goes a lot into this, which are more about incentivizing green energy use. So there's a lot of things you could do around that side as well. And that's my rant. So I would love to see projects around social good, and they can be any types of projects. Like, even projects with NFTs are great options for this as well. Yeah, how are we going for time, by the way? And is there any questions we should probably get to answering? I think there's one more question here. Is Fleek acting like Vercel from Web3? That's from Mr. Phenom. Yes, it is. That's exactly what Fleek does, except that it stores your GitHub data, and it's as easy to use as Vercel, by the way. If you haven't tried it already, please go and try it. If you are deploying any sort of front-end app, please go and use Fleek, because instead of storing to, our Web2 counterparts, we're storing on IPFS, and they run their own IPFS nodes as well. I will just preface this by saying, if you just send in a project that the only part of this project that uses IPFS and Filecoin is deploying to Fleek, it won't qualify for our prizes because it's kind of a low usage. But being in Web3 and wanting the values of Web3, I would really encourage people to use that for your front-end apps. Fleek also has an STK. If you want to use that for like uploading IPFS data, that will qualify. Just to preface that before we get a bunch of that. There's another one here from Nathan as well. Could we win bounties if we use Infura IPFS? Yes, Nathan, you totally can, as long as you are doing more than just fetching IPFS CIDs. So as long as you are uploading CIDs, you could do that. But I would really encourage, if you're using some sort of IPFS data, to also use web3.storage or NFT.storage, depending on your use case, to store that on Filecoin as well. Like, I've kind of gone through the issues of just using IPFS and how it can kind of disappear unless you're running your own nodes. But yes, Infura is definitely will qualify as well. We've got any other questions here? So if time is, hang on, will the slides be available? Yes, Timarina, I'll definitely put them up. Matt's going to take us off into a wormhole. So I might answer that in the Discord a bit later, Matt, because we could be definitely going into space and into a wormhole with that question, but I'll definitely get to it afterwards. Maybe we'll just go to a couple of more of these bounties if you have time still, Patrick, and then I'll answer any other questions in the Discord. I'll go straight there, and happy to answer any of those questions too.
I actually have to jump off, but you can keep going.
Yeah, sure. All right.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, thank you all. Yeah, Ali's going to keep going yeah, keep asking questions. These have been great. But yeah, I'll talk to you all soon.
No worries. He's a busy man. Thanks, Patrick, and thanks for the ideas. So this bounty, the builder on the tools bounty, this is something that's integral to the Web3 community as well. Like, we don't have enough tooling that's making it easy for people to use Web3 and to use it in a kind of smooth manner. I think we all know that. So anything that kind of helps builders use our tooling, eases a storage retrieval for Filecoin, for use in Chainlink oracles, for example, which is not an easy problem. And I'd be happy even if you come up with an idea that kind of is for creating oracles around IPFS and Filecoin, and you just set out a roadmap for that, and did some basic implementations to start with, because I know a month's a short time. And if you are looking to do really big projects like that, we are totally looking to support you. We have a bunch of grants available from $5,000 to $50,000 that will help support you to build these bigger, more complex projects as well. But I'd love to see ideas around use with scientific data for AI and ML, for example. Some IoT integrations could be really interesting, especially with our lib peer-to-peer library. Oracleizing Filecoin chain events would be cool. Security tools, we need them. We were talking about that service level that we need for IPFS and Filecoin data earlier, in that, what storage providers how do we ensure that the right data is getting stored and that we're not breaking laws, things like that. Those kind of toolings are essential. There's a project called Phil Swan Blink as well that has integrated Chainlink oracles and Filecoin data. So it's not an easy start. So if you do want to have a look at that project and you're looking to do something that combines those two, Phil Swan has a project called Flink, which could give you a good start on how you might, go about doing that as well. Have we got any other questions? Fleek is really great, just as easy as Vercel. Awesome, Leo. Or happy to hear you've used Fleek as well. Great. So if time, Matt, Pyro's got a question here. Is there a problem if we use Chainlink Mix and some of the project we made in the hackathon as a foundation of our projects? So as long as you can show in your GitHub contributions that you have, substantially built on top of some of these projects, that's not a problem for us. Like, as long as we can see that you are using IPFS and Filecoin and learning about it at the same time, because that's what we're all here to do as well. Then there's totally no problem with using a boilerplate project, but definitely make sure that you are implementing on top of that and understanding how that boilerplate project works. Because, it's a boilerplate project for a reason. We're here to try and help you develop and be inspired and build your awesome ideas out on top of that. So definitely qualifies. is the answer though. So gaming and metaverse, we've already kind of gone through that bounty. Maybe I'll just talk about a few more ideas for this. So NFTs, obviously a massive use case for IPFS and Filecoin with NFT.storage. And there's so many interesting ways to use NFTs these days. Someone just dropped me a Surge Women NFT today, actually, and the artwork on that is incredible. So I would love to see that combined with something like, Chainlink VRF to give random traits to things. That would be a cool use of both technologies. There's also charity and resale NFTs now, obviously building communities for good, which you could also put in the social good category too. Education initiatives with NFTs, so proof of contribution, proof of knowledge with NFTs is a cool use case that's coming out at the moment as well. And again, could also go in the social good bounty. Metaverse world integration. I love the metaverse. I'm an old Second Lifer, so I'm really glad to see some of the problems I saw in Second Life are kind of getting mitigated now in these open, I'm going to call it multiverse, because metaverse is a bad word thanks to Zuck these days. I'm probably going to get booted off the YouTube channel for saying that. Anyway, so these multiverse implications with NFTs or with peer-to-peer chats or with heaps of other fun stuff that you can do there, like portable ownership of assets in games and in the multiverse is really cool. Like I said, peer-to-peer messaging in gaming, that's a really cool use case you could use our lib peer-to-peer library for. I'm going to preface that by saying it's not an easy start for lib peer-to-peer, so definitely only do that if you're willing to take on a cool challenge with that one. So yeah, some awesome stuff that you could do in this category. And I saw a project the other day called Tetris, I think it was, which was decentralized Tetris basically, and they played the whole game of Tetris and saved each of these blocks as an IPFS, put it all in together, and then saved that as an NFT. So that NFT played on OpenSea. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Yeah, GatherTown is also probably another kind of metaverse. It's all about gathering people together and in a different world in virtual. So yes, I would even go so far as, that's probably maybe a little bit of a different category, Tippy. I've got one coming up for you for that one. But yeah, I was talking about Tetris. So they saved all these game pieces and each move as IPFS hashes, and then they saved that whole thing as an NFT, and you could see the game play on OpenSea, which I thought was super cool as an NFT as well. I'll dig that project out and put it in the slides as well for you, just in case anyone's interested. So this one might be good for you, Tippy. So bonus daily Hackster project. So it's the best kind of project that we'll use every day. So you can think about things like Stack Overflow, like, why are we still using Web2 for that when we have like these alternatives like IPFS and Filecoin kind of decentralized storage networks. It will be cool to see Reddit or blog platforms or things like that move to Web3. So home automation could be a cool thing. Something that drives me up the wall is personal management systems, especially when I'm like in different time zones. I just can never keep up with calendars, meetings. It's a pain in the ass. There is actually a cool project on IPFS and Filecoin called Huddle01 as well, which is like the Zoom of meetings, it's a really cool use case as well. So definitely check that out if you want to start doing Web3 meetings kind of thing. It's really cool. Mobile apps as well. I can't say I've seen a lot of mobile apps utilizing Web3. That could be a cool thing to do if you're into the mobile space a little bit. Web scrapers, social networks, and check out Ceramic. I did mention a little bit before. They're kind of creating digital identity to be able to port your assets across social networks, and they're using IPFS and Filecoin under the hood as well. So Ceramic would definitely qualify if you want to use Ceramic as a project to create social networks. There's chat apps with peer-to-peer as well. Alrighty, let's see. What have we got here? My buddy. Ooh, wellness walkabout. Yeah, that's something else we haven't talked about. There's a lot of fitness apps coming up in Web3 now, so incentivizing you to stay healthy. I think that's definitely something you could combine with oracles as well, because you're bringing in API data, say from Fitbits or things like that. If you could do that through Chainlink and then add that to IPFS and Filecoin, and all of a sudden you've got both categories as well. So that's another cool use case. And yeah, personal management systems, right? They drive me bonkers. Anyway, so that's what else have we got here? Okay, so the other one is, which I've kind of talked about a lot here, is everything is IPFS. So we're bringing in HTTP data from Chainlink. Then let's make that into IPFS data so that we're saving it, we're content addressing it, and them saving it the right way. And use of current data oracles. So I think there's a newsfeed oracle that Chainlink has, and maybe you guys can tell me what kind of oracles Chainlink has at the moment. I know there's a newsfeed one. I think there's an Arbol one, which is about sustainability data. So that would be really cool to bring in and put on IPFS and Filecoin as well, or to play around with ideas around those two things. That would be super cool as well. And I know there's heaps of Oracle. I can't keep up with how many kind of oracles Chainlink has got for bringing in HTTP data now, but projects like that would be a really great use case as well, I think. And then there's the judge's commendation. So if you come up with something outside of anything I've said today that doesn't quite fit the bounties prizes, we've also got these judges commendation prizes that we'll give out to teams that we're like, wow, that was really innovative. We want you to keep building this. And like I said before, we do offer grants. And most teams that like have a significant use of IPFS and Filecoin would be encouraged to apply for our IPFS Filecoin. It's actually Filecoin micro grants after the hack. So, and that goes into a pathway to an accelerator as well. So you apply for the micro grant. After that step, if you want to keep building, there's bigger grants and support available for you too. So you can really become a full startup in this space if you want to tackle a bigger problem, or, build your own product in Web3 and become a founder, which is like exactly what we want everyone to do. And I'd love to see. I think that's pretty much it. I think, thank you so much, by the way. I'm really glad this is useful information to you guys and that you're enjoying it. Are there deadlines? So just one question from Quezon about the grants, I think. Are there deadlines for grants that finish? Not so. It depends on the project, Quezon. So, and your time commitment. You can put a proposal in that says, I only have 4 hours a week to spend on this project. So it will take me X amount of time to finish. You can put in that proposal and we can either accept or deny that. We can work that out. We're usually pretty flexible around those kinds of things though. And also, it's a development project. Do they ever run on time? So there's always another bug or something you haven't considered that comes up. So, we're often quite flexible. I don't think there's actually any formal deadlines on that though. We do have check-ins just to make sure that you're still good and that, can we help you with anything basically? Anything? Yeah. So another question here from Shaman, I think. Oh, well, that's how I'm going to say it. I love it. The ETH address of Shaman. Anyway, anything you have specific wise about IoT projects out there, or where to look library wise? I actually can't answer that, and I really wish I could. I'm trying to talk to a few IoT people internally about trying to bring out some examples for what we could do on IoT. As Tippy said, Shaman, you are very wise. But at the moment, not really. I think the best use of IoT would be with IPFS. I think you'll find it very difficult to work with Filecoin and IoT, but using IPFS or lib peer-to-peer, which is a peer-to-peer, a peer-to-peer messenger kind of thing for data, those could be really cool on IoT. And if you do want to play around with something like that, I would totally encourage you to do that. And that would be like, it would blow my mind. I would love to see some, demos out there of IoT and IPFS together, or IoT and lib peer-to-peer. And we'd love to support that as well. So yes. Just to leave you, happy to answer any more questions as well. I think we've still got like about 15 more minutes. So I'm just going to leave you with this. So one of the best places to get maybe some ideas, other ideas, if I haven't given you enough, or me and Patrick haven't given you enough ideas, is to go to the hackathons.filecoin.io website. Have a look at that. And there's like some past projects on there, past winners. You can kind of see what kind of things have won previous hackathons. There's also projects out there that are utilizing our technology that you may not even know about, because like I said in the beginning, we're aiming to be the infrastructure for the internet, and you don't always think about the infrastructure that's underlying certain things that you use. But some of the cool ones are LivePeer. So LivePeer is a video streaming platform that's using IPFS and Filecoin under the hood. While it will qualify because it's to use, I think they have an API now where you can just upload videos with kind of one click. While it would qualify, it's probably not a significant use of IPFS and Filecoin, so it would be more good for a live peer bounty, for example, than an IPFS and Filecoin project. But just to give you an example of the kind of projects you can build with IPFS and Filecoin, LivePeer is one, and they're super successful, and we did like kind of give them some seed money to start with as well. So as a cool example of what you can do. Huddle 01, which is at the top there, is the Zoom of Web3 world. That's also using IPFS and Filecoin. I encourage you to check that one out. Audius, I think most people have probably heard of Audius, the Spotify of the Web3 world. So that's using IPFS and Filecoin. OpenSea, I kind of mentioned before, is using NFT.storage for their storage minter. So it is a kind of a standard there. And then there's social good ones. So the Internet Archive, which I mentioned at the beginning, and we're storing some data, archiving some data for them, because the good thing about Filecoin is it's actually super cheap as well. So it's like something about 5,000 times cheaper to use than AWS at the moment. So that's kind of insane as well. So not only are we giving you this distributed portable data archiving kind of system, but we're also making it super cheap for you to use. And a lot of our projects like NFT.storage, Web3.storage, they're totally free to use at the moment as well. NFT.storage, for example, is a public good. So we're funding that. And I know Nifty Save, I don't know if any of you have heard that. So they're scraping the web for NFTs that aren't saved on IPFS. And we're actually taking them and then saving them from Nifty Save to IPFS and Filecoin with NFT.storage. So there's some cool things we're doing. And that would be like something like that, or security around NFTs would also be a cool project. How do you submit projects for the bounty program? So we'd have to ask Chainlink about how we're submitting projects, I think, for this hackathon. But you submit to the general category, and I think you should be able to maybe tick off maybe some of the bounties you want to apply to. If not, we'll probably be able to see it when we're judging, what bounty you are going for there. So that will also happen. Also, I would encourage you when you're submitting, we get a lot of entries, so I encourage you to write in your README exactly how and where you've used IPFS and Filecoin so we don't miss it, because we do know there's lots of different ways that you can use IPFS and Filecoin. There's lots of different tools. Some I've brought up Infura before. I know Morales also has an API. NFT storage, Web3 storage, Fleek has an SDK as well. All of these have different SDKs, so SDKs or ways to use IPFS and Filecoin. So definitely encourage you to write in your README so we know exactly where and how you've used it. That would be amazing. Nathan has a question. Can we only submit to one bounty? The answer is no. You can submit to as many of the bounties as you think your project applies to. However, you're only eligible to win up to one of them. So you can't double up on bounties, but you can win the general category prize. So first, second, and third for IPFS and Filecoin plus a bounty, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. That's just because we're trying to spread the love a bit as well. But like I said, there's grants after that as well. So there's lots of ways to continue building in this space and to continue to be funded to build in this space as well, if you're serious about it. Like I say here, tips for devs: be a founder. There's grants. Build meaningfully off boilerplate projects. Don't just regurgitate them, and work with diverse teams. I think a lot of the time people don't understand the power of diverse teams and how much they can really help you get different points of view and build out a cool project. Shaman, the wise one, has another question. In dev post, when you describe your project, you select a drop down for the categories you're applying for. For Filecoin, it's a mildly select drop down. Well, thank you for answering that, Shaman. Appreciate that. So there's the answer to how you submit projects for the bounties. Thank you so much. Umi has a question as well. Can I create a family tree lineage photos? Yes, absolutely. So any type of usage of photos, storing photos on IPFS and Filecoin is a really great use case. So absolutely, you could create a family tree or genealogy kind of type project. That would be amazing, actually, and very unique. I'd love to see that. So yeah, I think that about ends it for me. Do we have any kind of follow-up questions before I probably leave you? Yeah, totally. Before I leave you to it, this is a quote that I love to leave people with, which I really love myself. So the best way to predict the future is to create it. And I love that you're all here listening to this live stream and wanting to create, a future that we can all be proud of, and that helps the common, that helps people, and that helps, create a fairer and more trustless society as well. So thank you for being part of that as well. As I said, I'm around in the Discord. If you do have any follow-up questions, I will post the PDF for this presentation as well in the Discord. And thank you so much for connecting with me today. You can also reach me on Twitter. So I'm at Developer Ally or Developer Ally. Get it? I'm an advocate. So Developer Ally, Developer Ally on Twitter as well. But the best way to reach me is really in the Discord. So I'll be paying attention to that and trying to get to all the questions there. And we also have multiple other dev advocates who will be helping out with questions that have different skill sets to me as well. So hopefully we can really help everyone with their, whatever pain points you come up against, or even if you just want to discuss your projects there. Possibly we can even maybe create like an Ask Me Anything voice Discord at some point before the end of this hackathon, so you could just ask more questions of us there as well. Yes, the Chainlink Discord, it's in. There's an IPFS Filecoin help channel that you can join, and we'll be there and happy to help you with all your questions there and encourage your building. Alrighty, well, I'm not sure. Hopefully, I think there's probably someone here to end the stream. I hope, otherwise it's going to be awkward. But thank you so much, everyone. Oh, it's so good to join a community like you guys are really making a difference, and I really appreciate having you all here and looking forward to connecting with you more as well. Thank you so much, Gabriel, Leo, Umi, Nathan, everyone that asked questions in the chat as well. I'm going to have to try and sort out that Ask Me Anything and perhaps give out a few, swag packs from IPFS and Filecoin as well. Thank you, and I'll talk to you all soon. Appreciate it. Much love.